Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the half hour with Premier Power. We have a couple guests here today. We have again my father, which is a natural electrical expert in the industry. Dad, welcome aboard. We have with us today Roy Mitchell, which is an expert in energy services specialist with Seco Power Company. Roy, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure for me to be here today.
Good, good. You know, again, electrical contractors have strong relationships with utility power guys. So we want to get him in here to get some insight and some more information about it. Dad, you want to bring up a couple of topics?
Yeah, okay, son. I see that your mic has a little bit of feedback there, and I know that Gator Mike's taking care of that right now as we're talking. So apologize, you had to kind of get off your game there as we work that out. Okay, Roy, of course, Seco has been very supportive of Lake County and, of course, all the Central Florida counties, and we really appreciate everything, appreciate you being here. Now, what is it that you do on a daily basis? Are you like an expert on energy and helping the consumer that they're having issues, and you're right there? Tell us about what your programs are.
Yes, sir. I'm an energy services specialist with Sumter Electric Cooperative, aka Seco Energy, and what we do basically is residential and commercial energy auditing. If our customers have a problem, they suspect a problem with a bill, whether it seems relatively high, they will call and inquire about.
So how does this process work? So I know Michael, I know you've gotten calls from customers, hey, my electric bill is high. And usually it's the electrician a lot of times. You're in a house there, and if somebody suspects something, they're going to look at you like, well, there must be something wrong. And, of course, you being an electrical contractor, you can take care of problems that are problems, but, I mean, you're not the expert on energy efficiency. So now we know what you can do is say, hey, listen, call your electric utility. Roy, do most electric utilities have somebody, a department that's going to go in and check into these things?
Yes, most electric companies do have.
All right, so then they call you up and they say, hey, something's not right, my bill's too high. What is the process after that? After they go through the information, you go out there, you have like a checklist, and tell us about what you do.
When we go into the home, we want to target, first of all, the larger energy users in the home.
Hold on. So what you're saying is that
There's percentages that draw more than others?
Yes.
Okay.
So what are the big items that you're looking at? What are those big items that you're looking for?
The big items we look for is the heating and cooling, which accounts for a minimum of 50% of overall consumption.
That's pretty big.
And cost.
Now, okay, so you go walk in there and you see an air conditioner, you see a heater, and you walk away. I mean, like, what does it mean? I don't understand. What do you mean? All right, you look at it, you know it's a big one, but what could you tell the consumer about that part?
Well, we first of all ask them concerning their energy use habits. It's such as thermostat settings, where they leave the thermostat temperatures when they're away from the home as opposed to where they set it when they're in the home. We could do a time to energy calculation on the unit when it's running to make sure that it's pulling ample amount of current and not excessive current.
Would it draw more current if it's not properly maintained?
Yes, it will. It will draw more current if it's not properly maintained.
So if the air filter's dirty and covered, and so if things are cleaned up, well maintained, it's going to run efficiently and smoothly more than it would if it was dirty, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I know that in my home, and I make sure, I think it might be once a year, but I have a feeling it might be once every 6 months. We actually have, in our case, we're a Lake County company, and we're Lake County residents, and we use Suter Air, and I'm sure there's other great air conditioning contractors out there, and they come, I think, every 6 months in my home, and they clean out the coils, they check the compressors, they check the freons. Michael, they do that to your house as well, and so you're saying, okay, big units, air conditioning, it's the usage, yes. Making sure that it's not drawing too much amperage because there might be something wrong there. Yes. The filters. Yes. Okay, I got it. What else can you do when air conditioning is?
Well, for the main thing, we recommend the thermostat setting in the summer of 78 to 80 degree range when you're at home. And if you should leave home for an extended period of time during the day, we recommend that you raise your thermostat temperature by about 3 degrees.
When you say, how long would you say, okay, if you're going to be gone for so much time, raise your temperature up a few degrees, and when you get back again, how much time do you think?
We're looking at about 4 to 6 hours.
All right, so if you're gone 4 to 6 hours, don't let that thing keep that unit cool or heated for that temperature. You're not there. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
In my case, I'm home. I'm home very little amount of the time, so throughout the day I'm always gone out, and so I'm gone, 8 to 10 hours. So every day whenever I leave or in the morning, I try to remember almost all the time. I raise my AC up to 80 degrees.
Well, why don't? But no, in your
Normally-
case, you could get a programmable thermostat.
But in this case, I'm going to be getting a programmable thermostat. That way, it can automatically do it by itself, and I don't have to worry about it. So,
Gator Mike, we got
absolutely.
something going?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I just heard Michael say that, he cranks his AC up to 80 degrees before he leaves. And I used to do that, but I had a neighbor tell me that it's counterproductive because it takes that much more energy to cool the house back down when I get home.
I have heard that.
So my question is where do you draw that line?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. And what happens, we're concerned that the homeowner never shut the air conditioning completely off, because once you're cool in your home and you're comfortable, not only are you comfortable, but your furnitures, your insulation in the walls, your ceiling insulation, your floor coverings, your drapes, all of that is comfortable as well. And just once you get it at that level and raise the thermostat temperature up 2 or 3 degrees while you're gone, then it's easily maintained, as opposed to just shutting it completely off and losing all that.
Yeah, but I think Gator Mike is saying, no, I understand all that, but I heard that if I raise my temperature up 3 degrees when I take off for the day, when I get back and I bring it back down to the temperature I want, that it's going to cost me the same amount of energy, or maybe even more, to get it back to where I was. That kind of makes sense. Or, is that not, in other words, are you still saying it is better
It is better, yes.
to turn it, to raise the temperature
Yes.
and then bring it back down? Because you guys have done the studies and you
Yes.
guys are into that. So, Gator Mike, we have these myths, things that we hear, that we think about, that it makes sense to us. And let me ask you another question. What about running the air handler blower? Do you
Fan.
want it run it, the fan? Do you want to run it on auto, or do you want it run it on all the time?
It is highly recommended to run the fan in auto position as opposed to the on. Simple reason being is when the air conditioning, a properly running air conditioning unit, when it's cooling, it's also removing from the home ambient heat and humidity. And if that fan is allowed to continue to run in the on position once the compressor cycles off, then it will return a certain percentage of the heat and humidity right back to the home that it just took out. So,
I see.
yes.
Okay. Anything else you can tell us about the big loads, which air conditioners that we should be aware of? Change filters, do the maintenance?
Yes, it's important
thermostats?
to maintain good, clean filters. We recommend that even if you have a reusable filter, that you be of the mindset to check it every 30 days, every month, to clean it and reuse it, or if it's a disposable filter, then go ahead and replace it every 30 days. That's our recommendation.
And it's something that there are some special filters out there. I know that there are special HEPA filters, and my wife is very sensitive to allergens and things like that. And these special filters, they indicate on there that they're a 1-year life on these filters. So I guess what you need to do is be careful that these filters could be $90 a filter. So just be careful that you don't replace it every month, because they're not designed for that application. So
Right.
just be aware of the manufacturer's information on that.
Right. What we try to do, too, concerning filters, is just get the customers in the mindset
Yeah.
of realizing that it is important to check it. Now, as I said earlier,
Michael, do you check your air filter? Have you even checked your air filter? Okay, next question.
Nope.
All right.
I need to. I'm going to today.
But, it's one of those things. And you said something great, Roy, and you said, how does some of your customers get reminded on checking their filter?
Well, my customers tell me that each month when they receive our monthly statement, that's their reminder and their cue to go and check their filters.
Do you guys put that on your invoice? Hey, check your filters right now?
Well, we send out a monthly newsletter each month with
Okay.
the statement, the invoice, and it gives all these energy saving tips and reminders.
All right, so maybe that's a good clue, and that is that my wife usually yells at me and says, hey, you need to change that filter. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. All right, what else we got? Anything else on air conditioning? And what's the next big load if it's not an air conditioning?
Well, the next big load then would be an electric water heater,
Okay.
which accounts for 16 to 18% of overall consumption and cost. And there are several tips that we can give to, concerning the water heater.
Okay.
One being to consider if it's an older unit, older than, say, 6 years old, or before they started putting the bright yellow label, energy saving label on the water heater,
Right.
then consider a insulation blanket or a wrap around that water heater.
Well, you're saying when they have these newer water heaters with this yellow label showing the energy efficiency, that they have more insulation now than they used to years ago.
Correct.
And so you're saying the older ones, if you don't have one with the yellow label, then get one of those blankets that they sell at the big box stores
Right.
to wrap the water. I have it on my water heaters. I have two of them. They're both wrapped.
And I've had, Mike, I've had customers to give a personal testimonial to me that once they wrapped their water heater, they did realize about 10% savings.
No, what about like turning your water heater off when you're not using it? If you're not, I mean, yeah.
They have time clocks, mechanical time clocks for water heaters. They're called water heater mechanical time clocks. What are your thoughts on those?
Yes, we highly recommend those because the average family of 4 or 5 persons in a home would only use hot water in the house roughly 2 to 3 hours daily.
And yeah.
So electric water heater left without a timer is going to average about 5 to 6 hours of run time.
I would like to pass this message on to those listening, and that is 100%. You need to be sure that you put a timer on your water heater. Call a qualified electrical contractor. You can call Premier Power Inc., and you can visit premierpowerinc.com. You can call Michael directly at 352-978-7015. And also, if you're listening, you have any comments here, we got Roy here from Seco, and he's going to help you out here. You can visit my 790 AM. You can call us right now at 352-787-9523. So definitely, Michael, here's some business for you, right? And that is, you can help people save money by putting in these timers. Are you telling people about this every single time you go to every house?
Not every time.
Something that you can help them out.
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll take a break. All right, good afternoon. Back to the show. We're talking about energy audits, energy efficiency services. We've got Roy Mitchell with Seco. We've got my dad here. Let's go ahead and keep up. We're actually talking about percentages of the consumption in the house. Dad, you have a couple topics?
Yeah, I noticed, son, that you actually started making a list yourself. What did you write down?
I wrote down here I need to wrap my water heater with insulation. I need to install a program or a mechanical time clock because I'm single. I'm a one-man guy, so I'm home and it's just me, and I don't use anything. So definitely want to put a time clock on my water heater, and then a programmable timer or a thermostat for my AC.
So that's what you have to do.
I got a list right here. I'm going to do personally myself within the next couple of days.
Now, if you're a single guy in a home by yourself, you probably wouldn't use 1 hour of hot water in your house within a 24-hour period.
Yeah. No.
Basically for showers or.
You know what you could do is you could put, like I had one time at the properties, it's like a 1 hour timer. So when you want to take a shower, you just turn the timer, and it automatically turns on the water and it cuts off, and it only gives you 1 hour worth of hot water. I mean, heating up 1 hour. That way, when you take a shower, you just roll that thing in there instead of, or like you say, just turn on the mechanical timer at the end of the day. I don't want to get into that stuff.
Sure.
I'm messing up. I'm sorry about it.
Okay.
All right, Roy, you talked about the air conditioners, what to do. Oh, air conditioners. I guess if you're going to replace a unit, you want a high SEER rating unit?
Yes, sir. The higher the SEER rating is, the more energy efficient it runs. The state mandates a 13 SEER minimum right now.
And what is a good number saying, if you can get that number, that would be a good one that's reasonable in price?
Probably about a 15 SEER is
Okay.
a more common one we see going in.
All right, and the water heater, we talked about that. That's the Rapid to put and the air conditioner with the thermostat programmable controllers. The air conditioner, make sure we have a timer on that to turn that off. Make sure we wrap it if it's not a newer one.
Wow, I'm excited to get these things done on my property. Absolutely.
Okay, so now what's the number 3 thing?
The number 3 thing would be refrigeration, or if a homeowner had a pool, say a pool pump running.
Okay, how much the pool pump costs?
Roughly, on average, a pool pump would cost you about $30 to $32 monthly.
Now, should I run I debate this myself mentally. Do I want to run my pool pump 24 hours a day?
Not at all.
How long do I want to run
It's recommended during the summer months, 6 to 8 hours per day.
That's all.
And what we recommend is that you consider the hottest hours of the day, to have the water moving and circulating in the pump during the hot.
Oh, maybe
the heat of
between
the day.
10 and 4 or something like that.
Yes, sir.
That's actually what time clocks are programmed. Generally, whenever I go do service calls around the clocks, they're about 8 hours a day. They go on about 9 or 10 o'clock, and they go off around 4 or 5 p.m.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
And occasionally we do have homeowners that do not have the timer, and they just try to rely on their memory, and sometimes
yeah.
they may fall asleep, or they may leave home and forget to shut it off at the time. So they find out that it's running more than perhaps it should.
Okay, and sometimes, you could have a timer and then you took the little tabs off for some maintenance and the tabs never went back on again. And so now this motor's running so if a motor's running 24 hours a day, it could be, what, $50 just for the one motor?
Absolutely.
All right, so what about refrigeration?
Refrigeration, we recommend that you set, when you purchase a refrigerator, basically the manufacturer will have on the temperature control settings a highlighted area where they recommend that you set it.
Right, that's the range.
So yes, the range, and we recommend our customers to consider the manufacturer's suggested range on
So,
that.
so don't just crank it down to zero, or don't take the coldest
all.
refrigeration and coldest freezer,
No, sir.
because it's not serving a purpose.
That's right. That's absolutely a
It
waste
probably
of
is even
energy.
hurting some of the fruits and vegetables, and
Absolutely.
they're not designed for that.
Typically in a refrigerator, if you have your vegetables, say a head of lettuce or tomatoes in a crisper tray,
Yeah.
and you're getting frost on that, then
That's a
it's-
sign.
Yeah, that's a sign that it's set too low.
What's a refrigerator cost a year? I understand a different size, but let's just say whatever, a standard size, typical refrigerator the average person might have costs how much a year?
Well, we figure about in a conditioned space,
Yeah.
we're figuring probably $12 to $15 monthly.
Okay.
So,
And if I have it in my garage,
and if you have it in the garage, it's going to use a lot more energy, and the cost could easily double out there per month.
oh, what about freezers?
Freezers, it's the same. But
Okay.
typically, we recommend that you keep freezers as full as possible. And if after you purchase your groceries or meats or whatever, and
Oh,
if you
wow.
have empty space still, we recommend that you maybe stick a bag of ice in there or put a plastic water jug that will freeze just to occupy the space and help keep the freezer from cold and keep the motor from running as much.
I see. Oh, I see what you're saying, because it's going to be cycling on and off.
Right.
Okay, so we got the refrigerators. If you're in a garage, you're talking about, if you're in a house, air conditioning is maybe, let's say, refrigerators are like $12. You put in a garage, it's going to be maybe $25. If you have a
Absolutely.
refrigerator and a freezer in your garage, they're $25 each. We're talking $50 just for those two units. And it's questionable, Gator Mike. I wonder, these people that go out and buy all this meat in advance and get a freezer, you know what I mean? You got to consider the cost of that refrigeration. Is that going to be cost effective or not?
I was piqued by that same thought, and I was also piqued by, because I have a refrigerator in my garage.
Yeah.
And it's a lot hotter in my garage than my house, and I thought you had just mentioned that refrigeration unit may have to work harder because it's in that garage, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. It will work harder because of the adverse conditions. First of all, until just recently, the refrigerator freezers was not manufactured for the demands of the higher temperatures in the garage.
Oh.
Typically in the South, garages will heat up as much as 125 or 30 degrees. So that really put it at a very disadvantage by being out there in the unconditioned space.
So for another $12, $15 a month, I might have to move that refrigerator into my living room.
Yeah. There you go.
If possible,
If that's what you get, hey.
a conditioned utility area.
Or air condition your garage. Then you can lower your refrigeration bill. All right, so we got the. What about a hot tub? I got a hot tub. I tell you, I got a high electric bill, but I got a hot tub. What's the deal on that?
The hot tubs, we recommend as far as the hot tubs that you keep the hot tub set at a minimum temperature, and they can use a significant amount of energy, but it's wise to heat the pool or the spa or hot tub whenever it's in use. And you can save as much as about $50 per month by simply covering your spa or hot tub with an insulated cover.
Yeah.
And this helps to maintain the temperature that's in the.
Is there any recommended temperature when you're not using it? What you should keep it at? Is there anything at all?
On average, I've seen homeowners will keep theirs about 85 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, and then whenever they're going to use it, they just jack it up
jack
there.
it up to maybe 100 or 101 degree Fahrenheit.
Okay, I think that's a big expense on my part. It's a hot tub. Okay, what's next?
Well, the next biggest user in the home is weatherization. We talk about weatherization.
I'll tell you what, I got a list of things here. Okay, I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay.
And you give me what you think about that. Insulation. Should people be adding insulation to their attic space? Is that a cost-effective thing? And
It is, and recommended level of insulation is a R30 value.
R30, okay.
Yes, and in that, the insulation is rated in terms of thermal resistance. That's called R value, and R value is measured is a measure of its resistance to the heat flow.
Oh, that's what R stands for,
And the
resistance.
higher the R value, the greater the insulating effectiveness.
I know that Suncoast insulators, and I'm sure there's other insulators. I've did a lot of work in my house, and I have the Icynene, which is the foam insulation that's sprayed to the on top of the roof, or rather underneath the plywood on the roof, Mike. And I tell you what, Mike, that really drops my electric bill down. It's a costly thing, but in the long run, I figure it's going to take about 6 years to recover my investment on my Icynene insulation.
Wow.
I have a coworker that recently built a home, and he had the Icynene sprayed in his attic, and actually his attic is part of his conditioned space.
Exactly right, because when you spray the Icynene, Michael, if you take a look at the house being built right now, de-icing sprays all the way down. They insulate the walls
seals.
all the way down. So the whole inside of the roof is considered an air-conditioned space. It's a conditioned space. All right, what about weather stripping? Should people go out and who does this weather stripping? Going out and just checking, caulking?
Absolutely, we recommend that, and that's part of our home energy check when we out there for energy audit.
Okay.
And we use infrared technology, thermostats, and cameras to measure heat and cold spots in the walls.
All right, so when you're there, you can help the customer actually see right here is a problem.
Yes.
You can see the temperature because it's a thermal imaging device.
Yes, and we highly recommend that when we're there, well, we want them to follow us so that we can educate them along the way and not just take our word. We want to be able to show them what we're looking at, what we're finding.
What about fans, paddle fans? I mean, yeah, I mean, I know I have a tendency not to put on the fans and make the air conditioning cooler to make the comfortable house. I mean, house comfortable.
Well, fans are typically, paddle fans are for creature comfort, if you will. It's not recommended to run a fan unless the room is occupied. A couple of factors there that comes into play. The fan is driven by an electric motor, and as long as the motor is running, it's giving off heat. So you have a certain amount of heat that the air conditioning has to
Hold
arrest.
on, let's slow this down.
Okay.
So I'm paying to turn the motor, right? Mm-hmm. And then while I'm turning the motor, it creates heat.
Yes, sir.
And I'm bringing in heat into my house. Then I have to have my air conditioner run to remove the heat out of my house because I have a fan on in a room that I'm not using.
Yeah, correct.
So this all compounds.
Yes.
Makes total sense to me. That's why I don't turn on my fans and I run the air conditioner way too cold.
Yes, and typically at the current rate of electricity today, the average paddle fan, if it's running 24/7, it will cost you at the end of the month about $6.
That's
per
what I
fan.
wanted to know. So
Yes,
$6 right there. And if you're not in the room, don't have the fan on. You know, what about occupancy sensors?
We recommend those because what happens with that is the moment that you enter into a room, the sensor will automatically pick up that you're in there, and it will activate the light for you. And once you leave the room, if you forget to flip the switch off, then after a certain length of time, it will automatically shut the light.
You know, son, I think I'm going to have you come over to my house now, and I think I'm going to have you go do some research on occupancy sensors. I think I'd like to put some occupancy sensors in a few of our rooms and give it a try and see what we like and what we don't like.
You know, they have the smart system for phones. You can, or for your lights, you can actually dim certain areas at certain times of the day. You can dim your lights down too. You know,
well, that might be something to consider. But I'd like to walk in a room and have the fan come on, you know, automatically.
Well, that's the end of our show here, Roy. Thank you.
One second, hold on
on
before. Just one thing. We should unplug appliances that we're not using, right? That might be like TVs and
Coffee
radios
pots.
because they're fat on power.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call at 787-9523 or visit me on the web at premierpowerinc.com. Thank you.